Oh, thank you everyone for being here. One of the things just from our conversation so far is the diversity of our backgrounds in terms of not just where we're coming from, but how we began our immigrant journey. Uh, so I'm just going to popcorn around and ask people to how did you actually start your journey? Because not every the conception sometimes is everybody came and suffered, and that's not always the case. We're not trying to highlight. We're not trying to do another Help the African Child series. So I'll start with you, my beautiful Stella. What's your immigrant journey?
So my initial first immigrant journey was I moved from Nigeria to the UK. I went in as a student, and that was a whole experience. I can't even that would be a whole movie on its own. Stayed in a room, literally called a box room. Like the room is for boxes. That was my apartment, And then from there, did my master's, and I came to the United States. So I'm a double, immigrant T. There's a word like that.
Imi squared. All right, that's incredible, right? And I'll come to you, Lola. What's your own journey? Because you're technically an interesting kind of immigrant. Maybe I'll let you share.
Okay, so I was actually born in the U.S. Went back when I was 2, and then came back when I was 16. So I feel like I spent most of my formative years in Nigeria, and coming here, I still felt like an immigrant, even though I was born here. Thankfully, I had access to things that perhaps most immigrants didn't have access to, but in terms of the journey or the struggle, it still felt very immigrant-ish, so to speak. Thankfully, I had my sister here. She was able to help me navigate some things, but again, I felt like I still had to start from scratch, working through school. A lot of things I didn't imagine I would have to do through college, I had to do them when I moved here.
So we can say you identify as an immigrant
Exactly,
in 2024 language.
Yes,
so we welcome everybody who identifies as an immigrant.
Right.
All right, so maybe I'll pop on to my brother right here. What's your own story? Because you highlighted you didn't necessarily have to do certain things. Where did I feel like there's a connection between you and Stella's Imi hustle.
Yeah, well, for one, I didn't migrate to America looking for greener pastures. I lived in Dubai before I moved to America, and there I did my MBA, and I was working. I was pretty okay. But the thing that stood out for me for America is the fact that you can be so many things in America, as opposed to other parts of the world where you can only be one thing, right? And I saw how you guys were living, the friends I made here, even my friend from college who already lived here at the time. So I was like, you know what, let me explore this opportunity. So I made the move. I had a good support system over here, obviously, my older brother, some friends and all of that. So I had that, I guess, grace to be able to, so I had some time, to really figure things out and at least have a good start in America. So it was kind of, somebody said I was spoiled. But I think it was all destiny.
Grace.
Yeah.
And again, nope, you can't. It's not a bad thing. Especially, you also paid your dues too.
To follow the lead.
Yeah, because some people have had that same opportunity and didn't make the most of it. So there's that. Kudos to you for doing what you had to do. I think maybe your prior background, going through, Dubai and figuring out how to survive there. You understood what it meant coming.
Yeah,
that was my real tough
Nigeria.
Yeah. So I grew up really fast in Dubai.
Yeah.
Just my experience being the only person.
Yeah. Oh, what age was I? That was like right after your
You were 25, so I was right 24.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, when I moved to Dubai, so just
Young and vibrant.
away from home, because growing up again, I grew up a certain way, and then, I feel like I just got let out into the wild, and I had to lean to the values I learned from home,
For sure.
and it really helped me, excel above, most of my peers in Dubai. So yeah, the real growing up happened in Dubai. So America was like a line of opportunity for me. So everything was gold.
Good. I was going to say that you also have, even in as much as you paid your dues, it's also important to have the right siblings, the right network, right?
Yeah.
Because there are people that have family and come here and it's still hell for them. So
And they fall apart.
Yes. So it speaks to also having the right support. So kudos to your brother and your sister.
Started from his house.
Yeah. Well, speaking of family and advice, one of the things people struggle with people that have people here is it's almost like there's a generation of immigrants who went through certain things and they feel like, no, you have to also experience the same thing. You have to, you can't just jump the gun and make it to a certain place. Why do we think that is the case?
They don't know better in some instances. And then in some cases, they do know better, but they want you to
Feel the heat.
feel the heat.
Probably you gotta learn from it.
I'll say something to that, and it was part of my journey because when I came in, I was, I was really hungry. The fact that America is a land of opportunity, so I really wanted to explore, and based, coming from where I was, but unfortunately, the people that I stayed with, it was more like, well, I don't know. Well, this is the way. This is So I didn't have that right information. So it's always key that the community, and this is why the African Immigrant Collective is really important. So the people, like one of the interviewers said, is the people you first meet or you talk to, either friends or family, they make you or they mar you. So it's really important.
And maybe just to jump in again, I think we kind of highlighted that earlier where we said they're not doing it out of a place of mischief.
Yeah.
But what you don't know, you cannot give.
Right.
And we come from a culture where we don't curate, we don't pass on information. And we're just a product of, a lot of times when we talk about generational curses, it's really generational patterns and way of thinking.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
right.
I remember I graduated from the University of Benin, and when I came here, I lived there for about 4 or 5 years, my college days, and I remember growing up, we would see all the artifacts and everything, but I lived in that town for about 5 years, but I could never point to you and say, this is the new generation artisans that are doing these things that literally the British and the European world took all of those artifacts out. So there's a system where we're not even passing information that's trickled down. And so our generation, with family members, were repeating the same patterns. So not necessarily that our family members are not giving us that information, but it's just a generational pattern of how we've always done things. So when they come, they feel, no, you have to go pay the price again. I'm like, why do I have to pay the price when you've already been through it and I'm supposed to ride on your shoulder and we just take it up to the next level?
Yeah, that's right.
I'd like to add on to this. Just like she said, I feel like it's also our culture in Africa. If something has not matured, don't say it. So, first of all, they're also in their journey. They don't want to tell you, this is what I did, and it's what, it's just secrecy. I don't know, Africans were just raised like that. If something has not yet, come to pass, don't say it.
Don't say it.
So, like, when I came here, it was different from my past experience. I studied in Malaysia for four years. While I was there, all the Africans, we shared the information. Everyone talked about their immigration journey. You know why? Because 95% of us were students. Malaysia, most of the people that went there were students. So whatever information you're giving me, I can as well go get it from the immigration office. So people shared. No one was lost. If you're lost, you decided to be lost. So when I came here and I got, it was a bit difficult to get information. It was kind of a shock to me, like, why are people being so secretive? But later I've understood that that's what's happening.
You're right, I want to add to that. Sometimes it's not that people are being secretive. Sometimes people are just being scared of how you handle things. I might tell you, meet Mr. Inamdi. He was the one that helped me grow when I moved to Atlanta. And he did not teach me just, when I was learning from him, he was just teaching his course, and he would use his real life experience while he was teaching us. For someone like me, I would go back home and I would challenge myself, Mr. Nadi does not have 2 heads. And at that time, if you remember, you were just building your house at Sugar Hill. And I would be like, this is a Nigerian guy. He does not have 2 heads. Then I did my own homework. The things I learned from him, I added my own research. And I introduced a lot of people to him. But at the end of the day, some people did not put the efforts. Like the effort I put into it, some people did not put that effort. And when they fail, they're ready to point fingers. Oh, is it not that she was the one that told me to just go and meet one in Namdi? That one that just collected my 4K. He did not even look for get a job.
They didn't do the work.
Next time, will I be able to introduce someone to him? Even if I want to introduce someone, I just want to give you number. Please, your job is in your hands. But instead of us communicating, coming back to me, how did you get your own job?
Yeah.
What did you do? Some Africans' mindset is when they hear that 6-figure job, for example, excuse me, they just want to, Mr. Nabi, you said the course is 8 weeks. Okay, teach me, and I'll get the job. It's not that easy. But when they fail in that part, and they go, they start saying, oh, she introduced me to somebody that took my money.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of experience like that. So next time when I see people struggling, I just want to keep quiet, like, you go and learn. Maybe when you learn, you come
learn the
to
hard way.
So sometimes it's not about secrecy, it's about how people appreciate that information.
Yeah.
Even if you fail, I always tell people failure is not final. I did DBA with him, but I'm not in a DBA field. But all those things he was telling me is way more than that DBA that I took back home and I re-strategized. You understand? Until today, I always tell people, this is somebody I will never forget in my life. You know? But it's just an individual perspective and effort to succeed.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I like about this community we are building. Be able to speak up. Even if you do the course and you get it, unfortunately, we move on to the next person, or you want to start up a business and you're feeling down, it's good to cry. I tell people, cry.
Yeah.
Call someone on the phone. If you call me and you cry, it's not late for me to mock you or to encourage you. You understand? So communicate with people, and I don't want to judge anybody that is not out there passing out information. Because sometimes in this country, there is also a limit to your information.
Right.
So they don't use it against you.
I do want to add something though. So I will look at that side of people that don't share. There are people that do share.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I moved here, my sister was the one that was here. She moved here right after. She actually spent a year in Unilag before she moved here. So she had to start all over from the beginning. So she was literally my mom when I came. She made it easier for me to navigate through things. She was the one that, helped me try to get my first job. It didn't quite work out because they needed me to have experience. I ended up at McDonald's. But after that, my job after that, which was in the collections, which I did through college, she was the one that hooked me up with that job. And just many other, even at Income, she was the one that got me into Income, and I'm still there today. So my point is, there are people that do share. So it's not always. I want us to be fair in our narrative. That it's not always just one-sided. There are people that do, and then there's a reason for people that don't. Like you said.
And just to jump in quickly, now when people share, on the other side, a person who's receiving, speaking from experience, there's a high level of distrust in the community already. Yeah. So even when you're sharing, people have this mindset. There's something behind it. That's why you're doing this for this
benefit.
Yeah. But now again, that takes us back to how we're raised.
Exactly. Yeah. You're right.
You're growing up back home already. Because I remember this one time I had this conversation with my mom. How old were you when your parents started programming you about this person, this person, this person from the age of 9?
Yeah.
So imagine a child at that age of 9 already having that kind of programming. Oh, don't eat at nobody else's house.
I'm like, why are you going there?
Don't. So imagine that's happening to her in that one
Don't
space.
tell anybody about
what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then imagine this happening in their little community, in Uganda, in Kenya, in South Africa. And then we come to this common space and we're all suspicious of each other,
Right.
how can we grow?
We have to learn. We have to
So again, it goes back to
Unlearn,
unlearning
yeah.
and healing from a lot of
Yeah.
trauma.
the trauma that we've carried from
Unconsciously,
our culture, and then we come into the professional spaces, and then
Yeah.
we're wondering why are other groups
Sorry.
Thriving.
going?
Yes.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it goes back to
Yeah.
the family structure.
I think, I mean, just listening to the conversation, I can think of culture being true to who we are. Because back home, as a man, you get to a certain age, and there are no excuses again. You have to get married, you have to have kids, and provide for them as well as your parents.
Yeah.
So carrying over that responsibility and being true to who you are as an African, that's number one. But being responsible too as a person, like you said, the same level of information you had that you ran with and made something good out of it. Someone else might have the same or even more information and just
Or say he's
Sleep on
bragging.
it.
Or say when he was telling us all those stuff, some might say, "Oh, he's bragging." But
Perceive it another way.
bro, I was looking like you like a
Exactly.
mini god. Like in
Right.
this country, you really making that money?
because I know my journey. Even though I came in here not broke, not poor. I still humbled myself and submitted myself to, teachings, to different, like to my best friend. He's my peer, but I still submitted myself to him because he had been ahead of me.
Right.
My brother here, I mean, he's only 1 year older than me, but if you saw how we interacted, you'd think he was probably 10 years older. But I was responsible enough to, learn what I needed to learn, and I think that culture of responsibility needs to come back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because America is getting more secular by the day, and people are losing their values. So, and that ties into just being conservative. Where we come from, we're conservative. Let's not be swayed by the culture in America, but let's be true to who we are.
Yeah. You said something important, humility. And that's something I hope that people that are joining this community come in with. As Africans, sometimes I think, and I don't want to generalize, but there's some people that come in with pride where they don't allow themselves to be teachable, and they don't realize that pride is what's hindering them from success, right? So exactly, that doesn't matter. You're past. You have to humble yourself to learn. Yeah, and you might be learning from people that are way younger than you, and it shouldn't matter, right? Because you should have a vision of where you want to go. So again, just picking back on humility.
I think everything we were saying, like there's different perspectives to it. There's different people share, but then some people are not receptive. You've shared and then it turned against you. It's like, okay, you sent me to the wrong person. There's so many things, and it's still called. There's, like you said, it's how we were raised, how we've grown. There's this culture of suspicion. Even the one of comparison unconsciously, that person is from there and you're from here. You shouldn't be, so all of those things, it's formed the core of our experiences. Just all of those things, and it's almost difficult to focus on one thing to attack and address. But one of the things that I feel like is, you said something about you guys were sharing in Malaysia because there was nothing to hide. If you don't share, we could go get it.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's the benefit of institutionalizing the knowledge,
Right.
in a sense. If it was institutionalized and it was somewhere where we could go get it, right? If when you were leaving Nigeria, leaving Uganda, leaving Kenya, leaving Ghana, you knew that Africans had a strong community where if I get there, I just need to make it to this place and I'll be good. Now you're not dependent so much on
One person.
okay, what if you call? How many stories have we heard of people who go to the airport and the person
And
they were
nobody
expecting?
wants to
they show up,
Right.
So I think institutionalizing certain things, it's very important. I think that's one key area, and that's the collective. It's going to really solve that. But one thing I wanted us to quickly address, and again, thank you for sharing and being very open in this, in the conversations we're having. one key thing we do, just going into the workplace now, right, is, and I've seen this in so many situations, we don't want to speak about work, right? Or even in circles that are not predominantly African, we struggle to find our voice, right? We have things to say, but somehow there is this.
You think you're wrong, you're second guessing yourself.
There's always that. It's, and so even in forums, there's a lot of initiatives for minority, professionals, Black, African American initiatives to help cater to, but we're not even leveraging those. I almost feel like, because when we get in those rooms, we almost want to be quiet. I almost feel like it's led to some of the reasons why, right? Thank God for you, Lola, like where you've gotten to. But how many people actually get to that senior level we'll bounce around the, senior technical around, but once it gets to where we have to actually have a voice and lead, the numbers begin to diminish. Why is it that we struggle to speak up?
I think it ties back to what you said.
Yeah.
It ties
How
back
we
to
were
our
brought
culture, how we were brought up. Because I struggled with that myself. So it took a lot of healing and a lot of personal intention and growth for me to be able to speak up in a room. I will be in a meeting and people will say things that has occurred to me a while back. And I'm like, I'm literally having a conversation with myself in the meeting, but no words are coming out of my mouth. And then after I said a bit, I'm like, Jericho, you have to start speaking up. You have to start speaking up. And so I literally had to teach myself to get there. But it comes back to you can be seen, but you can't talk.
Exactly.
Growing up, right? How you're brought up. And so some of us just have to unlearn those bad habits.
Was there a moment for you, just before was there a point, was there a light bulb where you realized, okay, there's a problem here, and I need to do something about it?
I think for me it was a process. I don't think it was just a moment in time, because there were several. I think I got frustrated at some point, going through meetings, hearing people say or respond to things that I knew, or I could even give a better response to, and not saying anything. And I'm like, I'm doing myself a disservice. And so at some point, but it was several meetings I would go through, and for a couple of years before I started speaking up in meetings. And now people literally reach out to me at work for several things across different teams. And if I never spoke up, I would still be that person that's just in her own corner and has all the answers and having conversations in her head. Exactly.
I want to add to it. I would say inferiority complex. Inferiority complex. If you sit with Africans, you will know that naturally we have that high IQ. We are able to learn fast. We can adapt to any situation, any environment. But the only thing I see with most Africans is inferiority complex. And that comes in when you see the people you're working with, or you're having conversation with, like their life is better than yours, or their education is better than your own education. I'm somebody that I don't care, even if my grammar is not officially programmed, because we did not come from an environment where, it was this country. I knew that the way you speak your English, one is official English and the other one is street English. I had to start learning, because when I would write my emails sometimes, to me the English is perfect. But when I was lucky to have a boss that liked me naturally, and she would just send it back to me. Now read what you wrote and read it again.
Do you mind if I ask you where your boss was from?
Oh, she's a white.
Okay.
She's an
wanted
American.
to get
Then she would send it back to me that your email looks like a phishing email.
Wow.
Like somebody is about to scam her. That day I cried. I'm like, with my 4 years degree, what's this? But I took it upon myself, and I'm like, what can I do to grow? And I'd start searching for help that can help me learn official English. Now that I'm speaking street English in an official environment. Then I paid for app. So before I send out email, I put in that app. I'm not using it as a cheat, but I'm also using it to learn. You understand? And from there, I started learning. Then I'm like, then back to the conversation thing, when we're in meetings, I'm somebody like, if I know that what I want to say is right, but sometimes I'm scared maybe my grammar will not fit in, and I just keep quiet. At the end of the day, someone will just say that. I'm like,
Should have said.
I should have said it.